Your choices, your actions, that's what makes you who you are.
He sees the good in everyone, and I see the truth.
And you're not always perfect, but you're good.
I can't stand the metahuman that's somehow become the focal point of the entire world's conversation.
We have searched the universe for a home where you can do the most good.
That place is Earth.
Welcome to Now Playing Podcast's DC Universe Movie Retrospective Series.
Maybe this is home.
Hosted by Justin.
He is unruly.
Arnie.
It's not his age that makes him young, it's his heart.
And Stuart.
I'm punk rock.
You are not punk rock.
This episode will contain detailed plot spoilers and mildly objectionable language.
What the hey, dude?
We hope you enjoy the show.
Ready?
Let's do it, Cronkite.
Today we're discussing Supergirl, starring Millie Alcock, Mathias Schoenaerts, Eve Ridley, David Krumholz, Emily Beecham, with David Corenswet, and Jason Momoa, directed by Craig Gillespie. Morning, Bastich. This is Arnie, co-host of Now Playing.
And this is Stuart.
And this is Justin.
Here we are 1 year later, talking about a Superman movie. It feels real different than last time for lots of reasons, including the fact that I'm not just getting out of the ER and trying to walk into a movie theater.
But I imagine there were more people to help you get into the movie theater last year than you would have found at Supergirl.
Yeah. I could have last year used the idea that I could just lounge on a couple chairs, taking up a whole full aisle or something. That wouldn't have been a problem for my screening Thursday.
Yeah, we are here at the second movie in the DC universe as compared to the DC extended universe, aka Snyderverse. Now we're in the Peter Safran, James Gunn DC universe, and they want to hit Super right away, right? Because they did Superman last year, Supergirl this year. Yeah, we do have Clayface in the middle, but then Man of Tomorrow next year.
And some kind of Green Lantern show, but yes. They're unloading this thing, but it does feel fronted with the idea that Superman is the icon. It is, when you see their logo at the beginning of this movie, Clark Kent tearing open his shirt to show that ass off. He is the face of DCU.
But that is not David Corenswet. That's like the 1940s.
Action comics, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I get it. Yeah, they want to be nostalgic. And, I went back. I not only went back and watched that 2025 movie again, as a refresher, how does it feel 1 year later? I went all the way back to 1984, and I watched Helen Slater again, see why that thing went so awry in its first Supergirl incarnation.
Yeah, that first one, that was star-studded, right? You had Faye Dunaway in there, and
Peter O'Toole.
Yeah.
It was. Why did it go wrong with Faye Dunaway after Mommy Dearest? Yeah, Peter O'Toole drunk. Yeah, Faye Dunaway being a bitch. This was really, should have been a huge hit.
I did not go back to either of those films. I watched Superman again once when it came out on streaming, and I remembered it well enough, and I especially remembered the ending with Millie Alcock coming in, getting Krypto back, and she was all drunk. I knew where this was headed, and Supergirl is kind of having a moment. She seems like a hard character to adapt. They tried getting into her a little bit in the Smallville show, but then there was this huge success in part of the Arrowverse with Melissa Benoist as Supergirl. I think that was a CBS show for a while, and then it kind of got its budget cut. It went back to the CW, where all the other Arrowverse shows lived, but I watched a few episodes of that first season. It was pretty good.
I never follow that stuff. I just stay away. I never saw Smallville or any of the Arrow, any of that stuff. I forgot that they tried to make Supergirl happen in that Flash movie a few years ago. She was a supporting character. Sasha Calle thought she was maybe going to get this movie. But sorry, we just threw all of that away. Even though, I don't know, I thought the Flash movie was pretty good.
That was much darker take on the character, right? Like, that one was brooding and already imprisoned and all that stuff. And I think the minute I heard James Gunn was taking over and rebooting, I think the writing on the wall was there for her. That was not the direction we were going to take Supergirl.
You're not coming along. Yeah, not needed. Thank you.
They had meetings after the case, but what's funny is the writer Anna Nogueira, who wrote this film, wrote the Sasha Calle Supergirl film. And then when Warner merged with Discovery 2021, 2022, it was silently canceled, but they really liked what she'd written, but said this is totally wrong for the vision of our new DC. It was very dark and Snyderverse, and the writer said she probably, because of non-disclosure, can't say what the old script was, but this is almost nothing, or maybe all of nothing from that previous script is in this. But Peter Safran and James Gunn liked that script so much they hired her to a multi-picture deal with the new DC universe. And that's really something, because when I was looking up what has she written before, she's an actress. This is her first writing credit of note. She was on The Vampire Diaries and she did Hamilton, and this is her first film, but whatever she wrote for the previous Supergirl got her enough that she's going to be doing more.
They want a woman's voice, right? That's the one thing you could say. One of the many things wrong with the 84 Supergirl movie is that Kara just was not being served with an empowering storyline. You say that this began its origins in the Dark Snyderverse. I think there's still trace elements of it in the finished film. We're going to be talking about trafficking women and drinking problems and dogs dying.
Matt Frewer in the last film, and then all the people in this film. What is it with Supergirl and moments of sexual assault?
Yeah, we can't seem to talk and celebrate women without thinking about them in sexualized ways. I do think that that is still where we're at.
But I was not super excited for this film, but I was looking forward to it. I thought the trailers looked pretty good. There's been inescapable amounts of press for this. Millie Alcock is everywhere, and trailers for this all over the place, clips, and I thought it looked good enough that I was pretty excited, but I didn't realize till I got to my theater I might have been one of the few excited. I went to a Thursday showing. This was filmed with IMAX cameras, so I went to the Cinemark in downtown Dallas that has the huge IMAX screen. There were about 20 people total in this theater that could seat hundreds, but I'd say half of them had Superman shirts on. I was kind of surprised. There were a lot of women, groups of women. You know, again, only 2 or 3 because 20 people total. But
yeah, I was about to say, wasn't a Now conference, but yes, some women showed up in a shirt. I hear that.
This is the same theater I saw Mortal Kombat 2 and Mandalorian and Grogu in. And when I went to Mortal Kombat 2, there was all the Mando stuff out and being promoted and very little for Mortal Kombat. And I felt like the theater was just kind of like, yeah, we have Mortal Kombat, but hey, let's get to Mando. This time, Minions everywhere I looked, Minion merch, Minion cups. Not much for Supergirl, not much love for that movie in its theater decor other than one giant standee.
I tried to make a whole night of it. This has a fast food tie-in, so I'm like, let me have the Supergirl meal first. You know, 1984, there was a whole action scene in that first movie where she's fighting at a Popeye's chicken. Popeyes is done with her. She had to go to KFC for this new movie. And I got 3 chicken strips with her own specialized sauces. So there's themed sauces. I'll say this, the drink was good. The Kryptonite cooler, it was basically a Starry with blue raspberry syrup in it, but the strawberry boba that's floating in it makes the drink. Ooh. I enjoyed that for sure. You get a toy with it too. Like they just throw in a bag. You don't know what you're going to get. I got a Lobo.
I feel like they might have missed an opportunity to make it poop corn chicken, right? Like, why wouldn't they do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The popcorn bucket, I imagine, could play off of that. I didn't see anything in the theater. You're right. My AMC serves alcohol. I think there was a drink.
There was a cup that AMC's had. Now, I didn't go to an AMC, and I'm surprised you didn't see it, Stuart, but it's a Supergirl cup, so it's blue with an S, but because she wears a trench coat in it, they put like this coat around it.
To make it look creepy and pervy? Is a drink wearing a trench coat?
But it's open.
Yeah, it's an open trench coat, and they got the color wrong, and it's kind of pinkish and flesh colored, and they showed it to David Corenswet on the red carpet, and Corenswet's looking at it and like, I can't say what I think about that. Because I'm going to say what he thinks. It looks like a foreskin. It looks like your cup has a foreskin on it. It is disgusting.
Drink up.
Yeah, the cup missed its bris, apparently, but yeah, what a strange choice to make. Like, somebody designed that, somebody produced a prototype, somebody signed off on that, and then they went to I don't know how they whiffed on that so hard.
Probably the same guy that invented the Dune popcorn bucket, right?
Yeah, finally a companion piece.
There's a whole, I think, niche market of sex toy popcorn buckets.
I have a theory that it looked great in CAD, and they shipped it to China, and when they got it back, the color was not what they had specified.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, shit, we got to ship them. We have 100,000 of these cups that look like dicks. We're just going to ship them and hope.
Damn. What they were giving out at my screening, and I'm wondering if you guys got one as well, is this portion of a graphic novel, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. This is the source material for the movie we're here to talk about. It was a hit in graphic novel form that they are trying to adapt to this new DC universe.
It was nominated in 2022 for an Eisner Award for Best Limited Series, an 8-issue comic series. Yes, when I read this was based on a comic arc, I decided I'd give it a read. And it is very similar. Like, the opening issue is like the start of the movie, where you have a little girl whose family gets killed and she goes off to hire a bounty hunter to find the person who killed her dad and get revenge. And she has the special sword and finds Supergirl drunk in a bar. I mean, it's almost verbatim, and it becomes a road trip. I think it was a really good comic. It was a couple issues too long. I honestly think it would have been a perfect 5 or 6 issue arc, which is normally what they do. They do 5-issue arcs in comics because that's the perfect amount to print in a trade paperback. I felt it lagged a little in the middle, but this adaptation, it condenses it, thank God. It adds Lobo, which the original idea for that comic was that it was going to be Supergirl and Lobo on a hunt. And then the writer of the comic decided to make it a little girl and Supergirl and make it kind of like a female True Grit kind of story. And then it has a very different ending because it's all told, you find out at the end, so a little spoiler alert. The whole story has been told in flashback by an old lady remembering when she was a young girl and avenging her father. Then there's a conclusion that takes place with her as like this 90-year-old woman, and Supergirl is still Supergirl. But no, there were a lot of direct corollaries here to that comic arc, and it was a good comic arc.
You know, not to get too much into it up top, but I think a lot of the complaints that I have seen floating around the internet are people that were fanboys of this comic run, not happy that this movie moved away from certain aspects of this book that they really loved.
Okay, I wondered about that because, like I said, I was confused. It's different enough that if you think it's going to be a pure adaptation, you're like, well, it didn't happen that way. But yes, the plot points are all the same, and they only give you like 30 pages of the comic. You don't get the whole thing. But just a tease to try and let you know where this came from, let you get a sample of the art and the style and the story. Maybe you want to buy that whole graphic novel too. I'm sure they wouldn't complain.
When it was announced as the source material for this, physical copies of the graphic novel sold out, and James Gunn and Peter Safran said, we're talking to DC to increase future print runs to satisfy demand.
But I do wonder, Arnie, you say it was truncated. I know this movie got cut down too, that in the processing of all of this, I don't know why, I hear as much as 30 minutes disappeared from the runtime. This movie's only an hour and 45 minutes, so it's pretty fleet for a superhero installment.
You're not going to hear me complaining about that. I do think an extra half an hour of this film would not be something I'd want. I think that it gets to its points pretty quickly, and it doesn't feel like anything's missing. It doesn't feel choppy like some movies we watched, like Masters of the Universe, where it felt like I knew where stuff had just gone missing. This, I didn't know until you told me the other day that a whole bunch was cut out. It's not something they're talking about a lot, go figure.
There's talk that a lot of the cuts were to keep it a PG-13. There's a more violent version of this filmed.
I thought there might have been more of Momoa as well. He's in it far less than you might think. There's not a lot else in the cast. I'll just add that. There's nobody else in this cast that I knew. I don't know our lead actress, Millie Alcock. I didn't know most of the supporting cast or even the characters that they're playing. So I didn't have a whole lot to grab onto. It was a new experience. Other than the 1984 Supergirl, I hadn't spent much time thinking about Supergirl before now.
Well, Millie Alcock is primarily known, from what I could tell, for House of the Dragon. And Justin, I know you're a big Game of Thrones guy. Are you watching House of the Dragon?
Yeah, she hasn't been on that show since season 1. That character grew up and they recast. But she was great there, and it was a star turn for her. So seeing her on the big screen is really not a surprise. She's a great actress.
And the director of this, Craig Gillespie, when I looked him up, I have seen almost all of his movies. Mr. Woodcock I saw when that was new, and it was not good. Lars and the Real Girl, I saw most of that.
You saw most of that. That's a telling review.
Marjorie didn't like it, and I just never got back to it.
Okay.
I was enjoying it more than she was. We reviewed Fright Night's reboot in 2011, I, Tonya. Dumb Money he did recently. I thought that was kind of a fun one about the GameStop stock thing.
Mm-hmm. There's a theme that runs through some of his films that probably is why he got this gig of difficult women. I, Tonya, and he did the prequel for Cruella de Vil that we saw Emma Stone play a few years ago. So yeah, challenging women, difficult women, a Supergirl that is not going to be reduced to a skirt. He seems to have the resume that could handle that.
And I've heard a lot of people wondering how much creative control he had, or if this is a James Gunn film, kind of like Poltergeist. Does it say Craig Gillespie, but James Gunn was there? I don't feel this has a lot of Gunnisms to it. And what Gillespie said is he only took the job if he was promised Gunn would give him directorial freedom. Gunn was only on set for like the first few days, and then let Gillespie run with this machine.
It definitely feels like James Gunn-inspired art direction, but it does feel like a Gillespie movie.
Yeah, it's a continuation of his sense of humor, but darker. Again, I'll stress, this thing does some weird stuff that is not fun. I think it will be a challenge. Finding the audience that's going to appreciate that, well, it hasn't happened yet, at least not in my screening.
So I went to just the standard Friday night, 5 o'clock showing, and sparsely attended, like what you guys are saying. Like it might have been 15, 20 people in there. People going out to the theaters are going to see Obsession and Backrooms, I guess. No big appetite for a big tentpole Supergirl movie right now, it seems.
And this thing's going to open at what?
It cost $175 million. That's what they say is the net. So that means after they got their tax incentives. So they really put more than that into it. Probably around $200 million. They're saying break even for the films, 300 to 350 global. And it was a disaster. Much like Supergirl in this film, it crashed pretty hard. They were hoping for a $50 or $60 million opening, which was already muted, and it got $38 million. Now, that's not quite Masters of the Universe bad, which was about $30 million, but it's close, and even global, it's not good. It got $67 million globally, so...
Yeah, the house burned down, but the lawn is fine. Okay.
But I kind of picture James Gunn as that dog cartoon in the firehouse where he's like, everything is fine, because 2 more of these movies are in production and coming out. And it's like Iron Man launched the MCU into the stratosphere before they had a few disappointing entries with Incredible Hulk, Thor 1, and Captain America 1. But this DCU feels like it has yet to grab a foothold other than Peacemaker being a hit on TV.
Superman was a hit. It didn't become the film of the year that I thought it had the potential. Before I saw the movie, I thought it was going to be bigger than it was. But it certainly was, if not Iron Man, it was an interesting start off. And why Supergirl is tanking is a curious thing I'm sure we'll unpack as we go through the film. Arnie, why don't you give him the plot?
Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, played by Millie Alcock, is celebrating her 23rd birthday. Still recovering from the trauma of her friends and family dying on Krypton, she hasn't been able to settle into life as a hero in Metropolis, so she decides to celebrate by going to a red sun planet where she can just get drunk. Her only friend and confidant is the dog Krypto, who she took with her from the ruins of Krypton, which at that point was known as Argo City, and we will talk about that. While drunk in the bar, she's approached by a young Ruthie, played by Emily Beecham. Ruthie's family was killed by a gang of brigands led by Krem, played by Mathias Schoenaerts. Ruthie is trying to hire a bounty hunter to kill Krem, but none take her seriously. She follows Kara back to her ship, and the brigands, needing to steal a ship to get off-world, take Supergirls. When Krypto tries to stop them, Krem shoots him with a poisoned dart. The doctor says Krypto has only 3 days of agony left to live, and the only way to save him is the antidote that all brigands carry with them. Kara and Ruthie take off after Krem, and they end up on the planet Bilkis. A couple say they'll help Kara find Krem, but it's a trap. They drug Kara, and the brigands come to Bilkis to kidnap girls to take to their all-male planet for breeding. They took this couple's daughter, but they offered Kara and Ruthie in trade for their daughter back. Krem comes, but Supergirl vomits up the poison, and a big battle takes place. Krem kills the couple and their young daughter, while Kara and bounty hunter Lobo, played by Jason Momoa, who's hunting a different brigand, all get in a fight with the brigands, but Kara is focused on rescuing the little girls the brigands were taking as sex slaves. The brigands flee to a planet with 2 suns, one of them green. When Kara gives chase, the green sun nearly kills her, and the brigands capture Ruthie, who finds Lobo is also in their prison. Ruthie escapes her cell and frees Lobo, and they go after Krem. Krem is about to kill Ruthie, but the green sun has set and the yellow sun has risen, so Kara is once again Supergirl and comes to rescue her. Lobo and Supergirl fight off all the brigands, but Krem is focused on killing Ruthie. Supergirl beats the living crap out of Krem, and then Ruthie comes to kill the man. Kara pleads with the girl not to let vengeance consume her, and Ruthie reluctantly agrees and walks away. Krem vows to hunt the girl forever, so Kara picks up the sword and stabs him twice, once for her dog, once for the family he killed on Bilkis. She gets the antidote and heads back to save Krypto in the nick of time. She and Ruthie enjoy celebrating the final days of Kara's birthday week before she and Krypto return to Earth, where she tells her cousin Kal-El, Superman, that she's ready to stay on Earth and make it her new home, as credits roll.
And before we get into the movie, it was a notable moment. I felt it in the audience. We see Supergirl. She's running around putting on makeup. It's an ad for Ulta. I don't know if that ran in your previews or whether you were there to catch it, but it kind of tells me where they're trying to land with this character. She is going to put on makeup. She is a girl, but not a girly girl. It's like blue highlights. It's like a neon blue eyeliner. It's playing with some pop punk that I think is letting you know that she's much more in line of like a Joan Jett or Blondie. You know, she's wearing a Blondie shirt through a lot of this. She is a ragamuffin from the early 80s, a riot girl, if you will.
Which was from the 90s. Yes, Ulta has been having a lot of movie tie-ins. Marjorie, being someone who shops at Ulta a lot, says the stuff that's getting tied into the marketing is kind of a cheaper stuff. It's Ulta's own brand as compared to the higher end brands you can buy also at Ulta. I saw this ad in the theater, but I also saw this ad on YouTube and on some streaming service. Yeah, it's just another marketing tie-in, but focused on women.
But you get my point, right? She's not dolling herself up to be pretty. This is not makeup that's meant her to be attractive in a conventional way. She's a punk. And I think that this movie wants to position her that. When we get started here with the dog, and I forgot how much Krypto was a big thing in Superman until I rewatched that movie. But yeah, the dog pissing on a daily planet that's praising Superman and joining her in bed for watching Casablanca and playing pop punk. You get the difference between them. Supergirl is so much extra than Superman.
Well, and also, I think that newspaper gives us a little bit of a glimpse as to her place in this world right now, right? That whole story about Superman was him doing something heroic, and then there's a side story off to the side with Kara holding some cats, like she saved cats. So, like, that's her lot in life right now.
That's funny because I actually went back and rewatched this movie, and on 2 watchings, I didn't see the Kara stuff. I did see the Superman saves town from nuclear explosion stuff, which is the big headline. And yeah, you talk about her relationship with Krypto, And this is incredibly sweet. She's watching Casablanca eating cereal, but sharing the cereal with him using the same spoon, which I love my dogs, but I would not share silverware with them. But if you guys have seen the movie Summer School, all I could think about is Mark Harmon on the beach eating peanut butter out of the jar where he takes a spoonful and then gives a spoonful to his dog. Then he takes a spoonful and gives a spoonful to his dog. I've always found that disgusting, and I find this a little disgusting.
I will neither confirm nor deny that I have ever fed my dog with the same utensil.
Yeah, Wonder Mutt's a great dog, but yeah, I don't think I'd be sharing peanut butter from the same spoon.
You don't know what you do. You don't know what you do until you're there, sir. I don't want your judgment.
And you mentioned this song. This movie's soundtrack is freaking killer. There's going to be one song I'm just going to geek out about, but this opening song is This Summer by Sleigh Bells. It's a fun song. They didn't put out a soundtrack for this, but they put out a freaking Spotify playlist, so I just went out and bought each song individually and created my own soundtrack. They put out a score, but no soundtrack, but I like all the music in this.
I like Sleigh Bells. I didn't recognize that was them, but I guess they always sound like they're doing a cheer routine to electric guitars. That's kind of the vibe we're getting here. Just a lot of energy to introduce the idea that she's not a superwoman. This will get said in words later. She's still young. 23. She's celebrating her 23rd year, and I do think that's the age where you start to realize, partying, do I still do that or not?
Is that the age I was supposed to stop partying? Because I partied for a good couple decades after that.
It can be. You're legal after 21, and then by 23, yeah. For me, it was 24. But I do think that this is around the time that you start thinking, oh, life is more than what I'm going to do today.
The difference being is that it doesn't seem like Kara has much of anything else going on. This is what she's doing day in, day out. She's going out drinking, maybe getting in some bar fights, crashing in her apartment ship, and just hanging out with her dog.
She's crowd surfing, which I think is fun. You say this is her life, but she's celebrating her birthday week.
A week, yeah, right? In and of itself, that word sort of says I'm stretching it beyond the day.
And she went to a red sun planet because that's the only place she can get drunk. Alcohol won't affect her on Earth. So I don't get the feeling this is leaving Metropolis. You know, she's not an alcoholic going someplace to drink herself to death. I think she has gone there to wallow for her 23rd birthday. And I did like that I read the comic because I'm like, why does Supergirl need a spaceship? I mean, that was like Star Trek V. Why does God need a starship? She can't fly through space near red suns. That's why she has a ship, is specifically so she could get here.
Yeah, and, collect your thing. You don't be carrying your whole life with you, the dog everywhere you go. I know she's strong, but that would get old, carrying your bed and everything. Yes, it's convenient. I didn't have any judgment of her having a spaceship. I do think, again, maybe it was the way she was introduced, right? She came in stumbling at the end of Superman, and I do think that we are to think that it is a problem, right? She isn't ever sober. We haven't met her sober self yet. Putting down, there's a lot of empty bottles in this spaceship. Krypto was licking them. This is the movie where she will decide that the pub crawl is over.
Right. She has a depression about her backstory that she needs to work through, and it seems like that's what she's been shutting out, and we're going to learn more about that through flashbacks as this movie goes along. But this isn't just a story of depression and alcoholism stopping you from living your life. It's more about getting over a hurdle from your past and becoming your best self.
Yeah, for sure. She's beyond the age, for most of us, college, right, was those party years, and she would be 2 years beyond that. She's going to learn about it through our other character. You say that this story could have been her and Lobo. I think it's more meaningful, obviously, that she's going to meet Ruthie.
Absolutely. I think that the writer of Woman of Tomorrow did a good job in making it a story. Again, before I even read the comic, I saw this movie, and True Grit was all over this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There were 3 movies that came to mind when I was watching it the first time. First was True Grit. Second was Logan, where Logan gets X-23 and has to protect her. The third, and this is the most unusual of them, was Mad Max when our villain walks in here. I am like, This guy is Lord Humongous meets Hellraiser. He's got like a gimp mask on to begin with, but spine piercings and face piercings and all these things. And I'm just like, he walked right out of Road Warrior.
I did not recognize him as being the big bad. He just feels like a goon. And for the longest time, I didn't recognize the actor. But I have seen Mathias Schoenaerts before in a lot of art movies. He does a lot of foreign films. Rust and Bone was a big one for him. Bullhead, he was on steroids. I've seen him do good dramatic work, but he's nearly unrecognizable.
Well, I mean, he's got enough stuff in his face. I don't know how you would recognize him. Every inch of his face has a BB in it.
I've only seen him in that Jennifer Lawrence movie, Red Sparrow, and I don't even remember who he was in it. I'd have to rewatch it looking for him.
Not the point, yeah. He was the guy doing something in the background of a movie about her.
Yeah, so he's new to me, and I think that hurts as far as being the big bad, because a lot of times in movies, you're going to get Jack Nicholson, you're going to get Willem Dafoe, you're going to get Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's going to be your comic book villain, kind of like the first Deadpool, where they got the guy who ended up being the failed Transporter reboot, and he works. And he's fine in Deadpool 1, but he doesn't feel like the big bad that Deadpool's going to hunt the whole movie. This guy does feel like he should take you to a bigger star who is going to be the face of evil.
And his plot's not that big either. I mean, I want to point out that it's like he's just coming in here to steal a sword. And he has no world domination kinds of plots within this. It's a very simple thing about like, I just happened upon a family and killed them. And that's the thing that's going to haunt me for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, our big bad is Marauders, right? And he's not playing this big. He's not overly acting this role or anything. Yes, he looks like a creep, but to your point, you do feel like there's some bigger bad coming along. And knowing that Lobo is in this movie and knowing the history of Lobo, he could just straight up be a big bad guy. I thought maybe that's what we were leading up to, but we'll find out later on. No, this is going to be Krem is going to be the ultimate guy that we need to defeat.
And in the comic, this was really convoluted. He was working for the king of the land who would go out undercover and hang out with townspeople. And if the townspeople turned out not to be 100% loyal to the king, he'd kill them. So that's what happened to this girl's father in the comic, is her whole family didn't die for a sword, but this guy was just an assassin for the king. Then, because he's on the run, he joins with the brigands, but isn't the ruler of the brigand, but he's the main target they're hunting, that he came wanting swords, and this kid with old school headphones on, looks like Walkman headphones, is not knowing that the house has been broken into. He jumps out to scare his little sister, scares the brigand into throwing a knife in his back, and then the parents fight and they both die too. But Krem makes the big mistake. He left one alive to come get vengeance after him. It's like in Kill Bill, where Uma Thurman tells the little girl, you're probably going to come hunt me someday, but just know if you do, I'm going to be waiting. It feels like he should have killed this girl.
It feels like happenstance that everyone is dead. This is a famed sword maker. This guy is a heavy. The wife is like, give him whatever he wants. If he wants this blueberry pie, let him eat half of it. We are playing along. And again, if the kid hadn't startled them, that really the death came out of nothing more than he jumped out to scare his sister and ended up with the axe in his back, you know, it would have been an entirely different thing. Everyone would have lived and we wouldn't have the story we're here to tell. But through accident, he is now the villain that looms in Ruthie's life. She has to bury mother, father, brother, and she kept the sword. How did she wind up with the sword?
Because it wasn't just that sword. He was a weapons maker, so they were getting the rest of the weapons that he had built from a shed. That was the whole key thing. Then she happened to have that one sword. And I don't know that the sword is more significant outside of the fact that, yeah, that her father built it and it's valuable.
But yeah, she's now going to go to this bar and make this pitch and try to find some badass to help her. She wants to be the one to put the sword in Krem, but she knows she needs a lot of help to do that. And wouldn't you know who's at this bar but Kara.
And Kara was there drinking flaming shots first, and when she comes in, she interrupts. Kara had hooked her device up to the jukebox, And okay, I couldn't believe this song was in the movie. This is my song of summer and probably my song of 2026. Have you guys heard of Wet Leg?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know their last album. I haven't heard the new stuff.
Their first album was kind of poppy. I like it. SNL UK started this year, and I watched the first episode, and the musical guest was Wet Leg. They're a Brit band, and their second album is so much like classic garbage, like the first two garbage albums from the 90s. And the best song that Wet Leg has on two albums is called Catch These Fists. It's what they played on SNL. I played that song like on a loop for a few days. I just couldn't get enough of that song. That's what she's dancing to here. And I'm just like, F yeah, whoever's doing the needle drops, you are my man. You're giving Wet Leg some press.
They're kind of blowing up right now. They had an American tour not too long ago. So yeah, good for Wet Leg.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, but the moment is a buzzkill because she wants to keep partying. And now this girl is saying, please help me. Of course, Krypto wants to jump in there. And Kara's like, we can't. I don't have powers here. Red sun and all. It's only because a bully takes the sword from a 13-year-old girl that she feels she has to get involved.
And she literally does hold my beer because she hands this little girl her beer while she goes out to try to stop this guy from stealing the sword. And she doesn't want the job. She's like, just kill the guy for the girl. Then you can have the sword honorably. You don't have to rob the girl.
Yeah.
I think this scene kind of sets up and gives you some expectations of what type of humor we can expect in this show, right? We have the record scratch thing, but it's not necessarily because somebody's like, ooh, what? What's going on? You know, Krypto pulled that out because the girl came in and was like, excuse me, may I have your attention? And nobody listened. And so she yells again. So it's all going to be a little bit more subtle of jokes here. It's not going to be over the top comedy that this movie's going to deliver.
The relationship between Kara and Ruthie, I mean, we're going to talk about it as we go through here. She sees herself in this, obviously, because both are orphans, right? And Ruthie doesn't even have a dog. So that's got to be sad for Kara to think, you don't even have the coping mechanism that I do. But it's not exactly the same trauma. So I have a little trouble tracking it. Kara is basically saying, I just want to keep partying, right? The thing is, you keep knocking at my door and I'm going to keep telling you no, not because what you're going through is too painful and personal for me to process, but literally because I just want to go to the next planet and drink.
She also points out to Krypto, I don't even have my powers on this planet. So when she gets to this fight, she actually has a moment of, oh yeah, I can bleed.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not super here. I have no obligation to help people. She says it backwards. She says, not my monkeys, not my circus. And she's right. She does not need to take this on a red planet. It needs to become personal to get her off her ass. And that's where coincidence comes in. It's coincidence from the original comic as well that the brigands, there was a massive explosion that this girl's parents set off when they realized they were attacked and blow up the brigand ship. So they're stranded on this world. They need a way to get back to Brigand Central, and Supergirl's ship is right there. They're going to take the ship, and Krypto's the hero. Krypto's the one who's trying to stop them, and Krypto's the one who's going to get hit with a dart in a slow-mo, heart-wrenching scene.
Yeah, it was all over the trailers, too. I do wonder, honestly, like, is part of the box office down because people are not up for going to see a movie about a dog dying?
All I could keep thinking of is this is like DC's John Wick. She is on a mission to avenge her dog, but I never thought the dog would die. Coming into this movie, I'm like, this is a comic book movie. You don't kill Old Yeller in a comic book movie. The fact that he's poisoned and has a ticking clock means there's a deadline to help him, but he will be helped.
I understand that, and yet I still ask, going to have a good time, do you want to watch this adorable pooch, like, lie there whimpering? I hated watching the trailer because it was in the trailer.
Part of me started to wonder if maybe James Gunn has some weird unresolved issue with the dying pet that is becoming a trope in his movies, but this does come from the comic book, so this isn't from the mind of James Gunn. But like after Guardians 3 and the trauma of all those animals dying, you got to start to wonder, what is it around James Gunn Productions and Animal almost dying on screen is going to be shoved in our face?
Well, again, we know that Kara, she has a lot of death and a lot of trauma. We get quick little flashbacks. We'll do it 2 more times in this movie, one of which is a pretty substantial flashback. But in this moment, we just see that while she was at a funeral procession, we don't even know who yet, that's when she met this dog. And so this dog is everything for her. This dog is home. This dog is the thing that has me partying. And if it dies, I won't go on. So she has a buy-in, right? We're in Act 2. Kara and Ruthie now will fight.
We had a David Corenswet cameo at the beginning telling Kara to come home. And she's like, I don't have a home. And then she tells this dog while he's sick on the bed, home is wherever you are. And that just got my heart. Because it does feel like you're putting the dog down. The dog is there on a table.
It does. Yeah. I've done that. Yes. It is PTSD to watch her saying goodbye to this animal. Now, she's just saying goodbye to go catch a bus. But again, I do think it's a problem, one of many, about why this isn't selling the tickets.
Yeah, but it also does give our character motivation as well as attach the audience. You know, save the cat. What's the opposite of that? Kill the dog,
Yes,
right?
Exactly. See how not to tell a story.
So she's going to have to take an intergalactic bus. I mean, she's literally, it looks like at a bus stop waiting for this bus to arrive. I liked the universe building in this. I felt like it felt a little Guardians of the Galaxy.
A little. This is totally straight up the most James Gunn moment. This whole thing on the bus is where you know you're in the same creative hands as before.
It did feel that way, but on the other hand, I'm finding myself going, how do you do a universe where there's just tons of aliens? This bus kind of is like the Star Wars cantina scene, right? There's all these different aliens, some of whom are rude, some of whom are nice.
I mean, vomiting into bags, falling asleep on you and drooling, and smoking hookahs and what have you. Yeah, it is a comedy bit, and they love it. It's not really clear where she's going to, right? I mean, she doesn't really have a good lead on how to get to Krem. Krem has her ship, and she doesn't know anything about Krem. I don't know what she hopes to find, but it's a good comedy moment to take us away from the pain of the dog trauma.
I think her plan is she's just getting to the closest yellow sun. Because later she's going to be asking the pilot there, how close are we to the space station with the yellow sun? And I think her plan is, I need power so that I can then fly through the galaxy and find this SOB. And so she's not going someplace for Krem. She's going someplace to get away from the red sun. And the bus driver here, I'm like, I know that voice. And it just took me a second. I'm like, that's Seth Rogen doing the voice. And I sit through the credits. There's no end credits stinger, but I'm sitting through in case there is. I'm reading the credits. Seth Rogen isn't there. I'm like, well, that's a damn good impression of Seth Rogen. It is Seth Rogen, uncredited, because he worked with Gillespie on that Pam and Tommy miniseries and then Dumb Money.
Oh, that was really good, that Pam and Tommy series. I liked it.
Oh, yeah, I really liked the Pam and Tommy series, but it focused on Seth Rogen's character so much more than I expected it to. But I watched that whole series and liked it. So when they needed a voice, Gillespie just literally texted Seth Rogen and was like, will you do this? And Seth Rogen was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, colorful men in black kind of aliens is what I'm getting. And then 3 chicks from Star Trek beam down, pirates that are robbing the bus.
Yeah, and they have some tech that can make them jump from place to place, and they seem like pretty decent pirates. Like, I feel like there's actual stakes here, but it seems like they're just robbing people of their valuables. They're not trying to steal the entire bus. They're not there to murder people. They're literally just boarding it like a pirate would.
But Kara is attached to that pocket watch. She's programmed it to tell her what 3 days will be, because when you're flying around, how do you know what sunrise is on another world? But yeah, she's got a way of knowing that. If they take her pocket watch, she doesn't know how much longer till Krypto dies.
And these pirates are straight out of the comic universe. They're not in the comic itself, but this is a Easter egg or a reference to the DC universe at large. And, it does feel very Peter Quill when she lifts the transporter device off the guy and then says, "Oh, I've got your thing right here." And it's the finger. That feels like Peter Quill doing the fishing line middle finger from the first Guardians film.
The only way it's not like that is you may not be laughing as hard. I'm going to ask you guys, since you guys like Guardians a whole lot more than I do, this thing is not hitting the comedy that Guardians in certainly its best moments did. It's doing the same jokes, but maybe it's because we're familiar with it. This stuff is not uproarious. It's amusing, but I didn't hear the audience rolling on the ground.
This entire movie is doing just fine. It's floating along above the bar of average to good and never really spikes up or down to the point where it makes me feel one way or another about it. And especially these comedy moments, when these happen, you feel like, oh, haha, chuckle, but that's about it. Because like you said, we've seen this before in this exact environment from the same creative team.
I found myself with a smile on for most of these scenes, but not laughing. I was amused, but not guffawing. But I'll say this guy sitting, is in this huge IMAX. There's best seats. So I had the personal space seat on either side, and then there was one person on either seat there. And the guy to the left of me, first of all, brought in like an entire Pizza Hut pizza, and he's munching on Pizza Hut this whole time. And then the more the movie goes on, he starts going, and by the end of the movie, he's like, ha, 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 ha.
He sounds like a character in this movie. He just needs to look like a space slug or something.
I mean, yeah, I was just like, dude, what's up? You are like into this movie. And it felt like he was there with crossed arms when the movie started, the way he was kind of grunting. And then by the end of the movie, it had won him over and he was just going.
Okay, I thought it took him a while to warm up to what was going, but what you're saying is maybe he thought the worst of what this was going to be, and it ends up being a James Gunn movie.
Yeah, it does, but it does feel like James Gunn light. I feel like James Gunn, on the one hand, I'm a little tired of what James Gunn does because it feels repetitive. By the time we got to Guardians 3 and the Guardians holiday special, it felt like a lot of the same. But here, I feel like it's James Gunn light. Like, it's somebody doing James Gunn more than James Gunn. But they're doing it a hell of a lot better than Borderlands, okay? So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. But Kara, you mentioned the sun. She has this moment where she's ejected from the airlock. This is where they really underline the difference it makes in her life. If she's out in the void of space and there's no light, she freezes over, looks like she's going to die. And then that sunrise, as soon as a beam of yellow sunlight hits her body, she can now fly around and fight back and even get the laser eyes. That once she's at full charge, she's got red lasers that come out and stop these pirates.
Heat vision, Stuart. It's called heat vision.
Okay. Yeah.
But not before she has another James Gunn moment of a body freezing in space. Like, we've seen this 3 times in James Gunn movies, and it's like, okay, we get it. At some points, it feels like Gillespie is copying James Gunn's homework, just changing it slightly.
Mm-hmm.
She really could have used Rocket Raccoon's tech there for a moment.
I did like the fight where they're all teleporting all around. I thought that was kind of novel. There's a lot of fights in here, and they keep it mixed up how they film it and how the action goes. And so I liked this one. And then, yeah, once she's in front of a yellow sun, she's just going to kick ass. And it also did feel very James Gunn, these 3 women who are all blue sitting there and realizing that they're screwed and deciding, let's just give up Krem. This is not going well for us.
Yeah, although I will say Gamora had people to play off of. And here, it's all sort of riding between her relationship with her and Ruthie, right? I don't know that Millie Alcock is totally nailing this for me. I mean, I kind of like her energy, her spirit. She's doing what the part is requiring, but she's harder to get to know. And I do think she's maybe another challenge. I can't judge it based on my audience, but it just didn't seem like she got that many cheer moments.
I like her. I like her arc. I like that she starts off as a broken person, with the trauma we're going to get into, and that through this girl and through this mission, she is going to find her own hope. We'll see, and this is from the comics too. Supergirl is not Superman. You know, Supergirl does not have the oath of no killing that Superman has. Supergirl has more trauma and more anger than Superman, and it's Clark constantly telling her, you need to do better. You need to be a beacon like I am. You need to be like me. And sometimes she strives for that, and sometimes she doesn't. And here, this arc for her, again, I love True Grit. I like this.
You're talking about the Coen brothers, True Grit, or John Wayne?
I watched both when the remake came out, and the John Wayne one was good. The Coen brothers one was great.
Yeah. And I'm hearing you love this Supergirl. Or rather, let's call her Kara, because she's running from most of this movie away from the mission. Yeah, she has the suit. We've seen Ruthie look at it. Like, why do you have this underwear? Oh, my cousin wears it, and this is what he does to feel good, and I don't have to do that. Yes, this is her running from the call for most of the runtime.
I think she's doing a great job portraying Kara here. Like, she's having fun in the moments where she is super powered up and she's beating people up and having to deliver somewhat cheesy one-liners while she's doing it. And in the wrong hands, this can come off very, very badly. And I think she's pulling this in the direction of enjoyment for me.
I gotta say, it's a particularly sharp joke to have a creature vomit up popcorn that she's then going to eat, right?
It's pooping it out. It's literally excrement, which is why when she takes a bite, she says, this tastes like shit. Well, it's literally shit, so it's of course gonna taste like shit.
Yeah, that's the poop corn.
Yeah, poop corn. You get what I'm saying. Yeah, this scene where they go shopping and she gets her like a bubble suit or something like that. I don't feel like these two, and they're both doing good jobs. I'm not talking about performance. I'm talking about how one story and one's trauma influences and impacts the other. I don't feel like the chemistry is as strong as, say, Gamora and her other guardians.
I was thinking Logan and X-23, though. I was thinking about how Kara gets purpose in that she has to become a protector and a surrogate parent to this girl who lost her whole family. And so this is forcing Kara to mature a little bit. I like their relationship. I think I like the characters more than the actors. I don't know if these actors have great range or if this is just their niche, but I think they're giving what these roles require.
Yeah, but what you're talking about is diagramming. Yeah, I understand that that's what the script is telling me should happen. Are you feeling it when they go shopping together?
I am. I really am.
Okay. See, that's my problem with this movie is I feel like I understand everything that they're doing and I like that, but I'm not particularly moved.
This is about the point where you need to get on board with it, because this is where Kara realizes, oh, okay, this girl is along for the ride and she's under my protection now. Because up until then, she told her to stay back. You stay here, watch my dog. And Ruthie stowed away on that bus. And to her surprise, here she is. And now it's like, okay, fine. We're going to do this together.
You won't die now. I'm thinking of protecting you, literally putting her in a bubble. You slap this collar on, hit a button, and suddenly you got like a astronaut suit from the 60s or something.
And that empowers them to be able to fly on her back instead of dying in the vacuum of space. Now we don't have to rely on Seth Rogen's space bus. We can go where we need to go with Superflight, and we know which planet we need to go to.
Yeah, the pirates ended up coughing up the name of Bilkis, which is apparently where, again, this thing always is flirting with things that are unfun. Women are trafficked. It's a planet known for people coming and stealing women. And so, yeah, we arrive here and immediately think that this Ruthie is a target. There's all these gunmen and snipers positioned all around these crumbling skyscrapers. And they're here walking into another bar trying to ask about Krem.
And I knew things were not going to go well when you get into a bar. You know, we're going to be reviewing Over the Top really soon. I had to laugh out loud in the theater the first time when this becomes an arm wrestling competition. But it turned more The Fly than Over the Top, because if you've seen the arm wrestling scene in The Fly where he breaks that guy's arm and gives him a compound fracture, that's what this was doing.
Being so closely associated with James Gunn, I was not positive that Sly Stallone wasn't going to make a quick cameo here as an arm wrestling companion.
Yeah, but that's Nathan Fillion, right? You mentioned the Fly, and there's the first dude with mandibles on his face. He really sounded like Fillion to me. I don't know that he's listed in the credits, but I just felt like, oh, they got him in.
See, I don't think they did. I haven't read anything. I didn't notice the voice sounding like him. He's certainly not credited, but neither was Rogan. But in fact, when I walked out of the movie, I was talking to Marjorie, and I'm like, it didn't feel very James Gunn because Sean Gunn and Nathan Fillion weren't popping out all over the place.
I bet Sean's here too. Again, it's like there's so much alien work, right? There's so many people that are space lugs and what have you, and that's fun and all, but I was pretty sure, because why else have him? First, there's this one guy that's just a bug guy, and then something even bigger comes in. Yeah, well, why don't you arm wrestle me? And of course, Kara's not worried about any of that. She's got the strength. I think it horrifies Ruthie that she's willing to hurt people in this way.
This clears out the bar, but one guy hangs behind, and I thought it looked a little bit like Dobby from the Harry Potter movies, so I started putting in my notes this Dobby guy. She's going to call him Squidward, and I'm like, really? You're literally stealing Iron Man's joke from Avengers Infinity War?
And I thought Dobby too, Arnie. He looks way more like Dobby than Squidward. But he does look more like Squidward than, what's his name from Endgame?
Ebony Maw.
For Maw, yeah.
He looks to me, and this is just stating my references, like Robert Crumb, if you know the underground artist, that the way that he drew characters and creatures and what have you, it feels like a hippie, 60s beatnik kind of look to this. But there is another creature here, one that is supposedly a co-star. But you tell me, who is Lobo and why is he in this movie?
Why he's in this movie, I don't know. Maybe they started production on this. We're like, hey, we need a little bit more star power. Momoa always wanted to play Lobo. So, hey, why not? I mean, he fits right into this world that they're creating.
He's a Superman villain?
Not really, no. So from like 1983... they decided to make this guy Lobo, and the whole thing was kind of a commentary on how violent comic books had gotten, right? Like Wolverine and Punisher were out there, and their whole thing was just killing people. So Lobo comes around and is kind of a commentary on that violence, and they created him. In his first few issues, he was in the Omega Man, which was kind of just corny anyway, but he kind of looked like a Ziggy Stardust reject. Like he was wearing like a jumpsuit and had kind of punk rocky hair.
Glam rocker. Okay.
Yeah.
He's still got a little bit of that in him. More hair metal, but yeah.
Yeah, it would be later on that they turned him more into the space biker guy. But to be honest with you, I was going to ask you guys what you think you know about Lobo, because I think they did a very good job of giving us who he is with very few lines just from this movie.
I heard one thing. I heard that he came from a planet and killed everyone there. And I noticed that Kara, in order to get out of this situation, she beats everyone else up in this bar, but she doesn't want to play with Lobo. And so she plays Valley Girl and they just split. So he is so bad that even Supergirl won't mess with him.
I still have never read a single comic with Lobo in it, but Lobo is one of those graphical characters like Spawn and like some Spider-Man stuff who just looks good in art. And to me, he looked like a hair metal bodybuilder. You're telling me he came out in the early 80s? This dude, the way he ended up looking is all Motley Crue, Poison level look. And I knew he was a space alien, hence the white skin. I knew he was a bounty hunter. And I knew Jason Momoa was wanting to play him. And it's like, you couldn't cast anybody who looks more like Lobo than Jason Momoa, but he's Aquaman. I mean, you just had Aquaman.
Yeah. They had already kind of done it. Maybe he thought he would never get to play Lobo, and Aquaman was as close as he was going to get. But yes, to have both of them, it does feel like a retread, but he's scarier. The teeth and all make him look more menacing.
And the demon eyes. He's got these glowy eyes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like, yeah, you guys get the general gist of him, which means that the movie did its job. He's a merciless bounty hunter, but he does live by a code, right? Like, he's by the letter of the law. If he has a contract for somebody, he's going to follow that to the T. One of his early stories is that, yeah, they mentioned it here, his backstory is that he killed every person on his planet. So he'd be the only one. And he gets sent on this mission to bring back this prisoner. And he goes and finds out it was his teacher from when he was a kid. It's just this old lady. So now he has this one last survivor of his race, but he has to bring her back to the person who hired him. And so he brings her back after this long adventure. I mean, crazy stuff. They go to a spelling bee at one point during this comic series.
Okay. So the comedy is intentional.
Yes.
As badass as he is, he's a goofy character.
Yes. And just to finish up this story arc, he brings this lady back to the person who hired him and says, okay, I'm giving you custody of the prisoner. And the guy's like, yes, thank you. He's like, all right, so you have custody. And then he kills her right there. He's like, I held up my end of the bargain. I delivered her to you alive. And then let her the law, he can kill her. So that's Lobo in a nutshell. He's going to kill anybody, but he's not going to kill anybody just for no reason.
And he's trying to track some red-headed, bearded guy underneath Krem that I never get a bead on. Does he even do it? I don't even know that I paid attention.
Yes.
There is a showdown between the guy with the mohawk, who is his target, and him at the end, but there's a lot of chaos going on, and Mohawk Guy, if there's a half an hour cut, Mohawk Guy had to have been in this more, because this guy is no one.
I couldn't track him in, yes. I just end up not paying attention to Lobo's story, and it's weird when he's here, actually.
And this is one of the things I was talking about earlier, where I think some of the violence was cut out, because this is blink and you miss it. Lobo decapitates this guy and tosses his head in a bag.
Oh, I remember a decapitation. Okay. It happens in a flurry to a pop song, so it just feels like a fun Bangles video or something. I don't know. It just doesn't have the impact of it actually being about Lobo. Well, it's not. Lobo is not a character in this. We're not to understand what he wants.
I feel like he's here because of marketing. One of the things James Gunn said during pre-production of this movie is Lobo is the biggest comic book character that has never been on the big screen. And so we're going to bring Lobo in. But he's unnecessary. You could cut him out of this movie and nothing changes. One thing I like, though, and it got more obvious a little later in the movie, is Jason Momoa is performing this totally differently than Aquaman. And you know who he's doing? He's channeling Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. He's painted with white skin. He's going to be talking like this, and he's going to be making deals. And then he's going to go into a different talking voice, and then he's going to go back to his normal voice. He's Beetlejuice on a Harley with a chain and the worst fake-looking cigar I've ever seen on film. That thing looked like a guy trying to hide that he's vaping. It's just got this big orange LED at the end, but I know Momoa said he's actually a cigar smoker, but he didn't want to do it on set. And so this is the cheapest looking thing. But outside of that, Lobo and this Beetlejuice performance is working for me.
Yeah. He calls them, as he leaves, super useless and right back at you, right? I mean, you're the drunk ditz in the bar in this movie. They didn't do it enough. I know James Gunn wanted to bring this character in here. I'm just going to say a strike against this movie, and I imagine Lobo fans will feel it even more intensely. He doesn't have a story to tell.
No, he really doesn't. He's just a side character here, which, you know, that's fine. But like to Arnie's point, one of the biggest comic book characters to never have been on the big screen. So maybe take that opportunity and do something more with him. But I could also see that drawing away from the heart of the story they are trying to tell.
Yeah. And this is where I get really judgy. Like, I haven't judged Kara's behavior up to this point. She wants to drink. She wants to do that. If she wants to eat from the spoon of feeding her dog, I got no problems with it. But when these bar owners come and they're like, we can help you and someone is going to do this and have some bitter tea and everything that they're going to do, I'm like, you don't see the trap in this? You're that dumb?
When they said it's bitter, I'm like, well, you've put pills in it.
I knew that she knew. I was like, oh, she's going to fake drinking it, and she's not even drinking it. But no, she doesn't even know that she's falling into a trap. Oh, come on.
And one of the things that really bothers me with this movie is there is a ticking clock for that dog. And the dog is not really brought up. Kara's going to look at the clock a few times, but to me, I would think always be moving. Keep moving to go find Krem. She's gonna wait in a room of this couple's house And then we get this extended flashback of her backstory. I like her backstory. I've never seen Supergirl's backstory other than from the Helen Slater movie, and they couldn't really do Argo City justice. I knew she came from like a Kryptonian refugee place, but I didn't know her tale. I like that they give us her tale here, but it kills the pacing of the main story. It really feels like extended subplots that are needed to understand the Kara character, but it's integrated so poorly.
Yeah, I don't know why she's waiting around. I guess she's still waiting for someone to tell her where Krem is, which is, again, such a dumb, motivating reason to be sitting around a bedroom and talking about your past.
Yeah, the bar owner or shopkeep or whatever it was says, I have a friend who will tell you where Krem is, and you just have to wait here for my friend.
That doesn't sound insidious at all. Not at all. A friend. They don't even have a name. Just a friend. They're coming. I don't know when. Okay, you call the bad guys, and they're obviously on the way.
And she sees him talking to Squidward on the way out, and they're having a clandestine conversation and shooting glances at her.
Yeah.
So it's like, you are walking into a trap.
It's so obvious.
Yeah.
She's not even that drunk. I'm not buying that she's that drunk that she wouldn't see this.
They're on a yellow sun planet. She can't get drunk anymore.
No, she's poisoned. Yeah, this whole scene is troublesome. First of all, you have these characters who don't speak the common tongue, yet basically what that means is they don't know prepositions. Like, everything is like, bar, me, you, go, let's. It's like, come on. Let's try a little harder on that. But yeah, this is not working. And like Arnie said, the whole idea of this is to give us a moment to slow down so we can have a flashback and learn more about Krypton, which is the main idea here. And the more we can find out about Krypton, the better.
Well, it flips the way I feel about Kara, because up to this point, you can be like, oh, she's just superficial. She doesn't care about things. We're judging her. When we see the difference between her and Superman, that yes, it's pointed out. He's 30 years old. She's 23. She's still a girl. She's not a woman. And yeah, she lived through something. He was put in a pod as a baby and never had any memory of his parents. And she got 8 good years.
And it is a big thing that Clark was raised by Ma and Pa Kent, who gave him his value system. Kara comes from a different background. So again, that's why if Supergirl kills, it's not the blasphemy of Zack Snyder having Superman break Zod's neck.
And it was a big twist last movie in Superman that Bradley Cooper wanted his kid to go to Earth and bed women and be an asshole. And here we find out that his brother, David Krumholtz, who I only know from a procedural show from 20 years ago called Numbers, like he was some math whiz.
He was kind of a high school kid actor as well, yeah.
Oh, okay. Strange choice to be the dad, but he's very different than Bradley Cooper, right? Got the same beard, but a totally different vibe. And he's like, I don't want my kid to do that. I want them to be able to know us and stay in this bubble. And so, kind of like Ruthie's bubble suit, he created this dome around a portion of the planet so that when it fell away and Krypton ashed, they still had Argo City.
I find it very interesting that they doubled down on the Superman thing because, again, there's a glitch in that video of Bradley Cooper before it says, rule that planet we're sending you to, take over, and that was the whole plot of that. And here we get Zor-El going, yeah, it's kind of crazy. My brother's sending this guy to rule a planet. We're not going to do that with our kid.
Yeah, they underline the parental differences. They're related, but that's my crazy brother is how it comes off.
Yeah, I did like that clarification, though. So it isn't just Kryptonians were a-holes. It was specifically Jor-El.
Right, yeah. Bradley Cooper is the jerk. Yes, yeah. He should have never had access to the pod to send his son. But because of that difference, again, we see it's a montage, but we see her running around. Did they actually digitize her to look like the kid? She looks so much like her 3-year-old, 4-year-old self growing up that I'm like, that's like Millie. They put her head on a girl body.
I thought it looked close, but I didn't think it was uncanny CGI. I did find it interesting, though, that, she's 8 and it is played by Millie. Little girl is not her, but then it is Millie. And I'm like, that's just weird, because Millie's in her mid-20s, and here she's playing like an 8-year-old.
I kind of buy it just because of the way they cut it here, but everything is going great. And then kryptonite comes. She has a line that was used in the trailer. Luck almost by definition runs out. And I don't think I totally understand the science of this. Why did kryptonite develop in the soil?
Because of the radioactive core that was driving the bubble around the city.
What I took from it is this. Okay, so Krypton was exploding like we saw back in the Christopher Reeve movie, and Ruthie asks Kara, so I thought all Kryptonians died when the core exploded, and Kara's like, well, it didn't happen that fast. While her uncle was building a ship to send Superman off into space, her uncle built this force field, and I thought the force field might have destroyed the rest of the planet. Like, it looked like they were having an earthquake, and then he set up a force field, and it was destroying things as it went up. But I can't really tell on 2 watchings if that's the reading. But this is Argo City, and it's just this floating space junk. But the destruction of the planet revealed the kryptonite in the planet. And so now kryptonite radiation is infecting the whole city. It was, I guess, always the core of Krypton, but when we had more Earth, it was keeping it protected. And now that we have less Earth, it's going to kill us all.
Yeah, and it was something also about the power source that was providing that bubble was also bringing that to the surface, and it was in their soil, so they were all becoming poisoned from this.
But it's affecting the adults first, or rather, Kara is not getting the ugly black veins that everyone else is. Mom is going to die first, that she was the funeral procession where Krypto came running, and we're seeing that, yes, she is grieving, and is again prepared to stay. I will die with you. She is going to get sick, but she never gets sick because Dad has the blueprints for Superman's pod and puts her in one.
With Krypto, which we see, we knew she was at a funeral when she found the dog. It's her mother's funeral. That even makes the connection to the dog tighter, right? You just lost your mother. You have something new to love and to care for. And the mother gives her this speech, you don't have to be perfect, but be good. Just giving her code, which is not be Superman, but to do well.
That's a weird parting advice, right? Not, I love you, dear, think of me always, but go be good, but you don't have to be nice. I don't know. No one's ever told me that. I'll just say that.
That's how your character gets your attributes, right? Your mother tells you what to be and you become that.
Yeah. You could just be a bitch if you want to, but just don't, be a super bitch.
I mean, much in the same way when she was saying goodbye to her father, like he was basically trying to say, hey, no, you can't die. You're more than that. You have a purpose. You're parts me and your mom. Like, yeah, no kidding. Like that's what a child is.
As we all are. Yes. To add even another layer to this, if they know that yellow sun places are where they can be repowered and it will burn away the Kryptonian stain on their blood cells, why don't they just build a pod big enough for the 3 of them?
I like to think that there's technological limitations.
I mean, but you get my point, right? Like, why die a martyr if you can be healed? That the poisoning that they're experiencing, we will see Kara gets that poisoning in the climax, and Yellow Sun fixes it.
Yeah, steer your little asteroid city toward the yellow sun, and you'll all be all right.
There we go. You just needed a steering wheel. It's really all you needed to do. Anywho, yes, Kara goes off, and let's just wrap up her story. They save it for a flashback later, but she eventually lands by the Fortress of Solitude. And I kind of love this detail that Clark is there to meet her, but he doesn't know Krypton. He doesn't know her language, and so she's just going gobbly gook. And he's like, welcome to Earth. I'll take you bowling. You'll love it. And of course she hates it, right? Of course, Krypto is the only thing she bonds with if no one speaks the language. And yeah, they're in the frozen tundra.
I like that he just does that Midwest thing of, why am I talking louder?
Yes. If I don't speak your language, I'll talk louder is the perfect response.
Just how, he's trying to sell her on all this stuff about Earth, and she still doesn't understand him.
And grieving. He never grieved. He didn't really grieve.
He never had to. How do you grieve what you don't know? That becomes an intellectual issue and maybe an existential issue, but it's not the mother who raised me is dead issue. And then he's like, and your powers are going to kick in, and She has Peter Quill's headphones on. It is the same headphones Peter Quill had in that first Guardians movie that she uses to kind of block out all the sounds from Earth.
And you can buy those, by the way. They make Bluetooth versions of those now with the orange styrofoamy buds.
No doubt. They're hoping to make something back on this movie. Maybe it'll be in earbuds. I don't know. Anyway, Kara's drugged and having a fight scene because, of course, Krem is really coming to collect both of them. And this is an example of one of the times where I just feel like I lose track. There's a lot that happens in these scenes. The big thing I see is that she keeps trying to stop Ruthie from getting her kill in. Ruthie's got that sword. She has a moment where she could have gotten Krem, but Supergirl flies in and grabs her, and she's got a drunken flight pattern. They skid a little bit. She's still drugged. She tried to coat her stomach with milk of some creature, but in the end, she was Mother Protector. She won't let this kid be a killer. And I wonder, does she know about that? She's not haunted by killing someone. Why does she think she can speak to, if you get bloody vengeance, you won't be an adjusted person afterwards?
I get the impression she has killed and will kill. I get the impression she is kind of blasé with life and feels like she is seeing the path not taken with Ruthie.
She's a killer. This Supergirl has killed, but we haven't seen that. I just want to underline that.
I think we see it here in this battle that's about to happen, where she kills some people. She is not afraid to use excessive force when fighting enemies. I don't know if she killed anyone in the bar fights. She didn't kill anyone in the teleportation fight. But on the one hand, I like that Supergirl's mission is actually to keep this girl pure. And that comes from the comics itself, too, is Supergirl and this girl decide at the end to not kill Krem, sort of. But I like that. And yet, I also kind of miss the whole Princess Bride type of thing. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And then you end by stabbing the person who you've been telling to prepare to die. I kind of feel like, I know an eye for an eye justice isn't necessarily great, but sometimes it's deserved, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, the movies teach us that all the time. But again, I'm just trying to underline the fact that Kara really can't speak to what Ruthie's going to. They have similarities in their background. They're orphans, but Kara did not see her mother and father be killed by someone that she could take vengeance on.
No, that part is true, but I think Arnie hit on it when he said that we do see Kara killing people. Because you got to keep in mind that, yes, the superpower she's using and the moves that she does against these people is very similar to what we saw in Superman. But keep in mind, Superman was fighting Ultraman and bugs and creatures, right? Like, these are just people. Like, these aren't superpowered beings. She's actually breaking these people's spines when she slams them into the ground.
I mean, yes, there's stuff happening here. Again, I think, and maybe that's by design, I have a hard time tracking who's actually dying. I register that there is a beheading at one point, but like who's doing it and how lethal is something that I feel protected from. I'm in a bubble, and so I just can't feel like she is this hardened killer. I get that she's not Clark. She's not a goody-goody. But I don't feel like she's haunted by the people she's murdered.
I agree. It's underplayed. Justin, if what you read about they had to back off because of MPAA reasons, that might be part of it. I thought the beheading was done by Lobo because he rides his Harley in here, his space Harley, his swoop, if you're familiar with that from Star Wars, and runs some people down. And then he has like Spawn's chain. This is such a bad CGI effect, his chain. I'm like, he must have a chain in the comics and you gotta put it in here. But this is not a fully rendered CGI chain that's whipping around him here.
Yeah, and that beheading was Lobo's. I'm saying just more in these fight scenes, you got to keep in mind that the people Kara is fighting are not super-powered individuals. She is really tossing these individuals around to the point where they're being heavily maimed or killed. So I think, yes, the point is that she does not have the same code as Superman. She'll do what needs to be done. And to that point, I think it's enough there for her to not want somebody else to have to start taking lives and dealing with whatever that entails.
But because she made that choice, she flies the girl away and they're up in the air. She's not there to save the family. The couple that was selling them out, maybe they deserve it, but Krem is going to stab them both in the alley and their free daughter. They did all of this so that they could get a teenage daughter back. she gets it too, and so history has repeated itself. A family has been murdered because Krem was allowed to live.
I was surprised that little girl died. This movie has a lot less humor to it than the Superman movie last year did. But last year, we saw Superman doing everything he could to save a squirrel's life that almost felt so corny as to level on parody. Here, Lobo's going after Mohawk Dude and anyone who gets in his way. Kara is trying to rescue the sex slaves. There's a lot of little girls, grade school level, in these pods.
In the finale.
No, here in this scene too.
Really?
She is getting all the girls to safety before she goes after Krem.
I did not get that sense in this scene. Okay.
No, she actually says to somebody, this is the last of the girls. Get them hidden. And then goes after Krem. So while Lobo's blowing crap up, she's saving people.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's chaos. It's visual chaos.
I'm not tracking this. I wish I was. Maybe it's me. I only saw this movie once. Again, I talked about it earlier. Emotionally, I wasn't invested in this movie. I was tracking it. I was liking some of it, but I wasn't feeling it. Anyway, they have a breakup. Ruthie is mad. You know, obviously, you didn't allow me to kill this man. Now this girl is dead. I did like this moment, Kara going up to space to just, she needs a moment to freak out. And that silent scream and that single tear that kind of floats off into outer space was a really nice way of dramatizing, visualizing the anguish she has about what just transpired.
It was a gorgeous scene, and, I think it speaks very much to the character of Kara.
It's gorgeous looking. I always like it when she goes into space with her long hair floating around, and then that one tear that freezes and floats. It's just a great moment of frustration and release that, her dog died, this girl, she was trying to save all the girls, couldn't save this girl, and everything she's fighting for, but she gets it out and she comes down, finds Dobby, and is like, you're going to tell me where they are. They say, you have to put this bag over your head. And I'm like, okay, so she doesn't know where she's going. But then we see she has x-ray vision and is staring at the clock the whole time. So this bag is doing nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, that's funny detail. The humor remains, but I agree with you. It's not funny. It's not madcap comedy in the way that I felt last time Superman was. They want it to be darker. It certainly is. And now that we get to this climax, we're going to take away Kara's powers. Before she can put on that outfit, she's going to drop dead of the green sun poisoning. And they're going to tease this out a long time. It gets said really early on that there's two suns. So it wasn't like a mystery of how she's going to get out of this. But we know as long as the green sun is up, she's going to be down.
This is a planet from the comics, and it's in this mini comic. It was a planet created to kill Superman, actually. And Superman was stranded on it, and the Justice League had to come and rescue him from this planet. He wasn't able to get off.
Barrington is what I think it's called. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the comic, it only had the green sun, though, so I kind of like the addition here of, the ticking time clock of, the green sun's up, so we can't do anything with her, or here comes the yellow sun.
Mm-hmm.
But it does make it so obvious that, even though, much like when she was floating in space and freezing, we get twice in this movie where, is she dead? Oh, wait, here comes some yellow sun, And I was thinking it was the age of Aquarius. Let the sun shine in, and she's all powerful again. I get it. Superman is a hard character, and any super creature is hard because they're invulnerable and super strength and everything. Nothing can stop them. So there's two things you have to do. Either A, you have to have some kryptonite, or B, you have to put somebody else in danger so that they are torn, like Superman at the end of the first Donner movie, of do I rescue Lois or do I save the Earth? You've got to give him that choice because you can't hurt him. And so here, repeatedly, starting on the red planet and now a green sun planet. This is my first knowledge of a green sun planet, but I guess that's a thing in the comics.
Yeah, this whole contrivance, which I feel like they dropped a little too quickly, could have been played out better and for better effect. And to your point, Arnie, you're right. Every time we have a Superman, we need to nerf him somehow. And so, okay, great. You've built this planet where it's half green sun, half yellow sun. Why would they not just use that in the climax, where they're at some part of the day where half of it's taking place where she's pushed over into the side where green sunlight is hitting, and it's like, oh no, she's vulnerable. Oh, back over into the yellow. Now she's powered up again. Like, that could have been visually fun to play with, but it really is just another slow down moment so she's unconscious so Ruthie can get captured again.
Yeah, I want to underline the fact that this villain has no real interest. I mean, I guess he could make money off of selling girls. His plot doesn't demand that he take this Kryptonian. Why build a planet to capture Supergirl when he doesn't care about Supergirl?
What I got on my second viewing is they didn't build this planet in the movie. They went there because they knew Supergirl was after them. After the stuff on Bilkis, they're like, okay, Supergirl is coming after us. We have to go to a place where she will die. And so they go to a green sun planet. And maybe it's half green, half yellow because they couldn't find in close distance a pure green sun. I don't know, but...
Yeah, sure. Well, that's why he's a poisoner. He's going to invent some Kryptonian arrows as well. He's going to be prepared. He's definitely prepared for her coming. But it's Ruthie that they capture. She's going to get water at a lake, and they grab her, and she wakes up in a cage next to Lobo. And we get more comedy.
This is totally where the Beetlejuice thing hit me. Well, especially after she breaks out, he's like, hey, forget about me. You know, it was like, oh my God, this is total Beetlejuice. And it's okay. I like the performance, but it is just, once I saw it, I cannot unsee it.
No, you're right about that. He's definitely voice mannerism in all ways. He's doing that kind of performance. But again, once Beetlejuice showed up in that movie, he was the focus. Here, I think you're right. You could literally have cut all of this character out.
Mm-hmm. The only thing you serve by having him here is giving Lobo fans a bone or I guess a carrot to draw them into a theater. But he's useless. I really thought, just to talk about his uselessness, I thought he'd exist so that at the end somebody could kill Krem who wasn't one of our characters who doesn't want to kill Krem. I thought he would at least drive up at the end when Supergirl's like, I won't kill you. And Lobo's like, I will. Boom. That's what I thought would happen.
That makes sense. He does say something here. He does at least help clarify because he's like, you want to kill for revenge? Overrated. I only kill for money, right? Like, if you're going to kill, get something out of it that's transactional.
And he says he always lives up to his word. That's his personal code. And by getting let out of that cell by Ruthie, he will get Clem for her. And he goes up to the top where they're having brigand fight club, and he gets Krem and drops him off the side. He's like, all right, I'm done.
Another big scene that I couldn't really track what was going on, but yes, kryptonite arrows are being fired. He's riding around on his motorcycle. Ruthie's dangling from a chain. Ship crashes, I believe, at some point for reasons.
Yeah, more chaos. I am enjoying little things here. You know, the arrows get shot into Kara, and we get to see the inside of what's going on. We see green little crystals grabbing onto her blood plates and stuff like that. I thought that was kind of a neat way to show us how kryptonite can affect her superpowers.
Yeah, this end fight is superhero movie fight, you know? Lobo isn't doing enough, but Supergirl is doing so much. She's blowing through brigands and smashing ships. The whole thing is that Ruthie is literally at the end of her rope and Krem is above her climbing down and the ship is out of control. It's going to crash into a mountain and kill most brigands, and they jump down on the mountain, but Krem is like, I'm just going to kill Ruthie. If I kill Ruthie, it's all good.
This is also where I noticed that the women become more involved, that Supergirl blows a hole in wherever they're being contained. They come out for part of the fight and grab harpoon guns and things. And so you get kind of the Fury Road idea that women that were once damsels in distress are now picking up weapons and fighting back.
I definitely was thinking Fury Road. I'd already been thinking Road Warrior with the design of the brigands. And then when I see that they're sex slaving women, oh yeah, they're just, you know, Krem is Lord Immortan Joe, right?
Trying to be.
The needle drop on this part of the movie made me feel old. I'm like, oh no, we're old enough for there to be a remake of the middle? We can't just play the original version?
I agree, yes. I mean, it's a girly cover too, so there's the gender thing, but I agree. I'm like, that song is not ready for a remake, but it is, I guess, 30 years old, so...
It just takes some time, and then they're going to remake it.
It's enough time, apparently. The world has forgotten Jimmy Eats World, so there's that. But I also think for the audience that they hoped was in the theater, but wasn't in mine, they will be hearing the song for the first time and loving it.
I liked how it was kind of a more contemplative, remorseful version for this climax. I wouldn't have wanted the Jimmy Eats World punk pop early 2000s version of this song to be playing at this point.
All right, so explain this ending to me, because I don't get it. Kara, I want to protect Ruthie. I want to keep you innocent. You cannot kill. I will not let you kill. I'm going to move you out of the way of killing Krem, but it's totally fine for me to go and put the sword through his neck.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Kara's soul is already corrupted. She's a killer.
Really? Because that's not the movie I just watched. I heard she can be good.
She can be good, but that doesn't mean don't kill.
Yeah, the mom's advice. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not jiving with it.
Now, the comic book conclusion's very weird. I mentioned this is all being told from Ruthie when she's like 100 years old, right? Well, they decide not to kill Krem. They send him to the Phantom Zone, and he spends 300 years in the Phantom Zone. And the first 100 years, he's horrible and mean. The second 100 years, he starts to really get his spirit broken. The third 100 years, he becomes like, he finds God and just is repentant for all the bad things he's done. And so after this 300 years, she brings him out of the Phantom Zone, and he sees Ruthie, and he gets on his knees and is like, you can probably never forgive me for what I've done, but I'm so sorry for what I've done. I regret all my actions. The art shows Ruthie killing Krem. The panel says Supergirl killed Krem. So it is up to the reader's interpretation which of these ladies killed Krem. But one of them killed Krem with that sword after 300 years of torture in the Phantom Zone.
Okay. But all endings have the idea that Krem must die.
Yes.
And again, I think it's really weird to say, don't you do this, and then go model the behavior.
I just take it as you are pure, I am not. And she's protecting Ruthie because, I mean, Krem is there like, I will hunt her to the end of my days. Apparently, they weren't sure about this ending, and they talked about shooting alternate endings and test screening them. But when she stabs Krem and says, this is for my dog, and then stabs him again and says, this is for that family, audiences and test screenings were cheering. This was the ending. He deserves to die.
It's brutal. I mean, it feels almost R-rated to me, the way that the knife goes into his throat.
Yeah. So I think it's the ending they had to have, and I like that she is saying, do as I say, not as I do. Don't be like me. I am past the point of that. But maybe she can find redemption if she goes back to Earth and tries to follow the guidance of her cousin.
Yeah, that's where we're going to end up. They do, it's mentioned sort of in the coda. Of course, the dog is fine. Nobody was worried about the damn dog.
I was, because they have this scene when Krem is there and they're giving speeches and hugging each other and talking about Krem. And meanwhile, I'm writing in my notes in all cap letters like a serial killer, the dog is dying. Talk about this later. Get to the dog.
No, I get it. But in this Hollywood movie, it was brutal enough the way they treated Krypto. And he has been sidelined for much of the action. But when she returns and feeds him the antidote, he's back to jumping around and licking her and giving pink eye and all of that stuff. And Ruthie is, it's mentioned she's got some aunt that she can go live with. She'll be fine. She'll make her father's sword. They're trying to polish it off as some kind of everyone's going to grow and change from this. But yes, returning back to Clark and realizing that Superman wishes to have his cousin be a part of the Justice League. Yeah, it's sort of a nice way to lead us into whatever happens next in the DCU.
Justice Society, thank you. There's no Justice League yet. It's the Justice Society with Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not the Justice Gang anymore, right? That was where Fillion was at.
I do like that we're so happy the dog is alive. Sometimes I feel like the dog looks so CGI, especially when it got shot with the arrow, that I don't feel as bad for the dog as I should if it looked more real. But then there were 3 real dogs on set doing stuff too. But I love that I'm so happy Krypto's alive. And then they go to Clark's apartment, and you know it's Clark's because it's that exact same vista where he was sitting with Lois while the big creature was fighting in the background, and they had that talk. But she's like, I'm going to stay here. And then Krypto tears up the kitchen. He's like, where's he gonna stay?
Yeah, and eating chocolate. I heard. So he might have more medical problems.
Except yellow sun. Chocolate ain't gonna hurt Krypto. Give the dude a Hershey's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, he's probably hawking one of them. You could probably go buy a Krypto bar.
So Justin, Stewart, do you recommend Supergirl? Justin.
This movie is fine. It's absolutely okay. And I guess that's kind of a damnation, right? Like, here we are in the second movie of James Gunn's reboot of the DCU, and I'm sitting here going, yeah, it was good. I enjoyed Millie Alcock as our lead character. I think she did a great job. I think the movie tells a fine story. The special effects are above par. The world building is great. It was fun seeing Lobo on the big screen. Yet I can't help but feel like they dropped the ball in many places. But those aren't necessarily sins that I can't overlook if I'm having fun with a movie. And overall, I am having fun with this movie. It does repeat beats, and I feel like people are getting sidelined and captured and all this stuff a few too many times. But I can look past that if I'm having a good time. And ultimately, I was having a good time. I think my problem is I'm just not in a place where I feel like I need to be excited about new DC universe content. I feel like it hasn't ever rested. Ever since Batman 89 came out, and that was fun, and that petered out, DC went into a rest period until Nolan came along and was like, hey, what if Batman was really dark, brooding, and cool? And ever since then, the DC universe has no idea what it wants to do. It tried making Superman live in that same dark world, and that ended up not working very well. So where we are currently is a course correction of all those decisions, and James Gunn making a more fun comic booky Superman movie, which I really enjoyed, and now building off of that, I feel like Supergirl wasn't the right choice for a second movie out of the gate. We needed to go somewhere else in this universe instead of just building up this superverse. So my overall feelings on this isn't about this movie, it's about where we are in the DC universe. And overall, I'm just kind of like, whatever. Show me what you got next. And knowing that it's Clayface next, I don't know how that's going to build into this, or if it has anything to do with Superman. Technically, Clayface is more of a Batman side of the universe, so who knows? It just feels like we jumped off into the deep end with James Gunn, and I feel like his first outing was a good, fun romp, and here on his second outing, I'm looking for a life preserver to make sure that this whole thing doesn't sink. So, I mean, as a movie, I'm going to say this movie is just fine. As somebody who doesn't feel one way or another about Supergirl, I think it was a fun movie and it's worth a watch. So I'm going to give it a light recommend because I do enjoy the James Gunn-ness of it. It's the future that I worry about.
Stuart.
I appreciate your perspective. I hadn't really thought about how someone might be watching this and thinking, are they just going to throw it all away since the box office is poor? Did any of this really matter in the larger scheme of things? Is there a larger scheme of things anymore if this thing is a super turkey? Wasn't my perspective. I was not excited to see this movie. Superhero fatigue is real, and this just felt like the least compelling one that we've got coming this year. The funny thing is, going back to Superman, I really liked Corenswet's take on it, but I hated that it had to be about social media hate. It's sad that we're living in the world that we are, and that having to fit those superhero characters into it is not where I want them to go. I want them to take me away from this planet, not have to deal with my problems. But I do think, age, right? If you are of a certain age, this might be a lot of fun if you were young. They weren't there in my screening, but I do wonder, if you haven't seen a whole lot of superhero movies, this might feel irreverent and wild and fun. And yeah, Millie's giving you it all. I just didn't care. I guess I can't hide my apathy of it all. I didn't come in excited, and nothing they did felt fresh or new. I've seen so many superhero movies. I had a teacher once in film school. He was like, if you make something and the lights come up, and the first thing that the person you're with turns to you and says is, what do you want for dinner? You've failed. because you want your project to resonate. You want people to turn and say what happened to them emotionally taking in your work. And by that metric, I just got to say, I did not care. And I was thinking about dinner as I was happy to know that there wasn't an after credit stinger and I could go on with my life. I didn't have to come back and see this movie again because it wasn't that hard to contemplate. It's a perfectly fine movie, but I am treating that like a damnation, Justin. For me, I'm saying, nah, pass.
And Justin, I get your points about what is going on with the DC universe under James Gunn. It has not exploded, I think, the way they hoped it would. Superman did okay, but 600 million global, very expensive movie, not the blockbuster they want it to be. Supergirl, I feel, is coming into it and has an uphill battle because I've already seen Snyder Bros hating on it, wanting the Snyderverse back. I've seen certain people saying it's too woke. Fox News actually had a segment about this movie being awful. So there's just a lot going against this movie. And despite the fact that I don't read reviews of movies we're going to watch and review until I've got my stuff down, I couldn't help but just see people in our Facebook group saying this is awful and reading headlines that the Rotten Tomatoes score is awful. And I went into this like, well, we'll see. Let's give it a shot. And I was so entertained. And I liked this story so much. And I think the reason I liked it, Justin, is part of your concern. This wasn't a DC Universe building film. This was a character-driven story. This was True Grit. This was two people in the wild frontier of space avenging death and saving a dog. And it's not about, let's have the Justice Gang meet Superman, meet Lex Luthor, meet Metamorpho or whoever was in that cell with him and all of that. Let's have a character-driven story. I thought this was so much better than Superman. And I really got thinking about it. I like Millie Alcock's Supergirl a lot for having this arc. I like her as the riot girl. I like her as the protector, big sister / foster parent to Ruthie. Do I wish the villain was a little better? Yes. Do I wish the pacing was a little bit more free-flowing? Yes. I love the Argo City stuff. I didn't know it. It's all new to me. And I love its representation and the origin story and the mother death and the finding of Krypto. This is all good stuff. It's just, is this the movie to tell it in, is I guess my question. And I don't know if these actors are good, the two leads, but I think that they did good character creation. I think Momoa was useless, but a lot of fun. And the good needle drops, plus a good score on top of it, a core relationship I could really get behind, some action scenes that are chaotic, but at least always moving and never done the same way twice. There's one bar fight where it's mostly from the point of view of Ruthie hiding. There's the teleportation fight. There's the space fight. I never feel like they're hitting the same beats again and again. I think this is easily the best comic book movie since Spider-Man No Way Home. And my favorite new superhero on screen since that first Shazam film made me really like Shazam. Not counting the Spider-Verse flicks. I really feel this movie is being underrated and deserves more than it's getting. I went back a second time to see it because I like this movie. It's a strong recommend.
You know what? I can meet you this far. I agree that her backstory and her character story was compelling. It was the part of the movie I resonated with, but it just felt diagrammed to me. I didn't feel it. Here's the other thing I'll say. Famously, one of my least popular reviews was Guardians of the Galaxy because I just didn't get it and I didn't laugh, and maybe it was me. Maybe I just wasn't in the right mood for this movie this weekend. I could see that if I came back and saw this movie again in a year or after a couple more DCU installments, I might like it more. I might be able to flip the arrow and go green. But right now, it's just a big blah.
Neither of you guys' recommendations surprises me because I think we all saw the same movie, and it's a lot of it is what you're going to walk out with on your own from this. And and Arnie, a lot of things you brought up, like I just want to say that none of my issues are Snyderverse based, right? Like I'm not over here saying, hey, I want Snyder back or anything like that. My concerns are more where we are going to be in 3 to 5 years in this new Gunverse.
Yeah, I will say she's the best Supergirl we've seen. I'll go that far.
Yeah, I think she's the best Supergirl. I think she's got the best motivations and stories and more interesting than her cousin. Her cousin is just harder to dramatize than someone who has the trauma of her entire civilization died in front of her. Clark never saw that.
Well, maybe you just like the rebel more than you like the goody-goody. Yes, I think you need both.
I'm looking forward to the fact that in Man of Tomorrow, Miley Alcock is going to be a part of it. I think that's going to be a good dynamic to see them play off each other. I want more Krypto, though. I like Krypto now in 2 movies out of 2. I hope Krypto's there.
Well, you wonder again, what is the lessons going to be taken from this failing at the box office? Despite how anyone feels about it, there's got to be concern about featuring someone that was the star of a bomb too heavily in a movie next summer. I mean, yeah, they've been hard at work at it. You guys tell me. Clayface, you say he's a Batman villain? I don't understand what's coming this October.
Whatever we're seeing, they've only teased stuff here and there, but this seems more like a psychological thriller than a cartoony, campy Batman villain, which is kind of the origin of Clayface. Clayface is goofy on purpose for the page, but I think they're taking this in a completely different direction.
I think the October release, I think some of the people involved have used the word horror movie. I think it's definitely going to have an element of tension and anxiety. Yeah, I think it's psychological horror.
I agree. I think it's more the substance than the Batman. So I'm looking forward to it. The trailer sells horror. It does not sell comic.
Yeah, I'm not getting any James Gunn comedy in it.
And that's kind of a good thing. Again, Marvel movies feel kind of samey by and large. Let's do something different with comics. I am game for Clayface. I can't say I'm excited because all I know about Clayface is what I watched in the Batman animated series where he looks like a big pile of poop that talks. But I'm really game for whatever this horror thing is going to be.
And you mentioned Marvel. We're going back to Marvel with another Supergirl of sorts. Ironheart is going to get her own Disney Plus show. She was a part of Wakanda Forever, and now she's going to be, I don't know, what is the movie about?
It's about a girl whose brains are bigger than her common sense. She can make entire suits of armor in a cave out of a box of scraps, but she can't not use it for crime.
Yes. It's a strange mashup of crime movie and supernatural horror, and there's a candy store in it. I mean, there's a lot going on. I've seen this thing. We're going to be unpacking that next Tuesday, Ironheart. Hope you join us.
And then this Friday, if you are a gold level donor, forget the fireworks. We bring the bonfire of the vanities.
Yeah, this might be Tom Hanks's worst movie. It's certainly by reputation the one that he gets the most criticism about. He was supposed to win him that Best Actor statue, and it ended up being the thing that almost derailed his career. He'd come back from it. We're going to talk about those hits right afterwards. But for now, we're going to be talking about Tom Hanks at his lowest point in the 1990s, Bonfire of the Vanities.
Yes, hopefully you can support our show and get 13 Tom Hanks reviews between his 8 90s films we haven't covered on the main feed, and then 5 that he did with Steven Spielberg. You can hear them all for a gold level donation or patronage. It is your support that keeps us on the air. Thank you so much for your support. If you aren't a donor, but you're in America, have a happy and safe 4th of July weekend. And now, Krypto, take us home.
There she is. It's Flying Sun Lady. Good job. We kicked ass back there, huh? We make a good team, I think.
Thank you for listening to this Now Playing Podcast movie review.
No need to thank us, sir, as we will not appreciate it.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
you trust everyone and think everyone you've ever met is, like, beautiful.
Maybe that's the real punk rock.
Help us spread the word about this show by leaving a 5-star review on Podbean, iTunes, or your podcast store of choice.
Okay, this does not look like this is gonna end well. For you guys. I mean, anybody want to leave?
Want more reviews like this one? In the archives section of NowPlayingPodcast.com, you'll find more than 1,000 in-depth movie reviews from our panel of hosts.
There's a lot more to Earth than just this place.
On our site, you can hear reviews for every installment in the world's biggest film franchises, including the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men, James Bond, Middle-earth, Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, and Transformers.
You're coming with me to find Krem. Congratulations, you wore me down. You're gonna do it either way.
Plus, we have individual movie reviews, such as Titanic, E.T., Inception, Big Hero 6, Ready Player One, Pulp Fiction, Apocalypse Now, Dr. Strangelove, and hundreds more.
This is why you don't create a damn pocket universe.
And come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com next Tuesday for another all-new movie review podcast.
Just do what I say. Keep quiet. Don't die.
Support from listeners like you keeps Now Playing Podcast on the air.
Knowledge is worth many sacrifices.
You can donate directly by tapping the support button at NowPlayingPodcast.com.
You could help me. No, we could help each other.
And you can join our crowdfunding campaign for early access to new episodes, exclusive reviews, and bonus reviews available for a one-time contribution.
You managed to get most of it on the paper this time. Good job, buddy.
Need more Now Playing? Subscribe to our In Focus weekly newsletter for exclusive digital download giveaways, behind-the-scenes insights, and more. Sign up through the subscribe page on our website and get it delivered to your inbox every Friday.
That message is why I do what I do. I cherish it more than anything.
You can also compare notes with us on Letterboxd. Go to letterboxd.com/nowplaying to see what our hosts are watching when we're not recording podcasts.
Hold on. I gotta go.
Okay, just give me a call
and let me know.
And follow Now Playing on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel.
Good luck with that.
Now Playing Podcast is produced by Arnie Carvalho.
Quit messing around.
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
Associate produced by Jason Latham.
Why does he trust everyone?
He doesn't. Just us because we are also of the cloth.
Now Playing is edited by Heath and Arnie.
We have no consciousness whatsoever. Merely automatons here to serve.
Now Playing credits read by Brock.
Oh, I don't I don't speak Kryptonian. I didn't ever shoot. I wasn't raised there, so I wasn't raised there. Why am I talking louder?
Now Playing is made possible by our executive producers, Jeff Gannon, Tony Lanzalotta, Garrett Collins, Brent, Tom Ward, Julian Lewis, and Andrew Doran. Thank you for your support.
Home is wherever you are, buddy.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the views of Venganza Media Incorporated.
We are not flesh and blood and couldn't in our heart of hearts care less whether he lives or dies.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with, and this podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by any entity that created the film analyzed herein.
You all have been super useless. Happy birthday.
All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review, and no infringement is intended.
No one read me my rights.
Of course, decided those rights don't apply to extraterrestrial organisms. Therefore, at this point, Superman, you don't have any rights to read.
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of and may not be used without the express written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
Good luck, almost by definition, runs out.
Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2026, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
Thanks for watching him, bitch!
Morning, Bastich. This is Arnie, co-host of Now Playing.
Bastich?
Yeah, that's what Lobo kept calling people, is Bastich. That's like his comic phrase, is calling people Bastich.
Oh, okay.
Mathias Schoenaerts. Yes, I looked it up. It's Schoenaerts. Not Schoenuff, Schoenaerts. Supergirl, real name Kara Zor-El, played by Millie Alcock. And I'm really not trying to say that dirty. I looked it up. It is Alcock. It sounds dirty, but it is Alcock.
Okay, it does.
I know people are going to say I'm saying it wrong, but according to the YouTube video, which I sent to both of you, it was Alcock.
But I do think that this is around the time that you start thinking, oh, life is more than what I'm going to do today.
Marjorie has a story of me hanging out the car window screaming Bon Jovi lyrics while coming home from a party in my 30s.
I mean, I got plenty of stories. We're going there. That's a whole other show. Join us for intermission sometime. But yes, there's plenty of Arnie stories, of Arnie in his 20s stories, that I think, yes, you celebrated life. A lot.
As the protector, big sister / foster parent to Riley. Is that her name, Riley?
Ruthie.
I can never get this girl's name. I just kept writing girl in my notes. I cannot.
I was like that with the villain. I kept calling him Krull.